The air in Mountain View feels remarkably different this May. It is 2026, and the entire technology industry is holding its collective breath in a way we haven't seen for years. For nearly half a decade, we have watched the rapid-fire release of large language models and the feverish competition between Silicon Valley titans. But as the lights begin to dim at the Shoreline Amphitheater for Google I/O 2026, there is a profound sense that this is no longer just another routine keynote. This event is being heralded by analysts and enthusiasts alike as the most significant turning point since the original launch of ChatGPT back in late 2022. We are no longer living in the era of experimental AI or simple chatbot novelties. We are at the dawn of total integration and execution. The period of what if has officially ended, replaced by the undeniable reality of a world where AI is the primary interface for human productivity. At the absolute center of this technological storm is Demis Hassabis, the visionary leader of Google DeepMind. He steps onto the global digital stage not merely to show off a faster assistant or a more creative writer, but to unveil the complete transformation of Google itself. The centerpiece of this massive shift is Gemini 4, a model engineered to anchor what Google calls the agentic ecosystem. This transition marks a critical 3-year evolution that began with the initial industry-wide panic of 2023. Back then, Google was perceived as a titan caught off guard, struggling to respond to the sudden rise of generative intelligence. Today, in the spring of 2026, that narrative has been completely rewritten. The goal is no longer just to answer questions. The goal is to transition Google from a search-first company into an AI agent-first powerhouse. This is a fundamental architectural overhaul of how humans and computers interact across the globe. To understand the immense weight of this specific moment, we must look back at the historical journey that brought us to the Shoreline stage. In 2023, the world witnessed the launch of Bard amidst a landscape of uncertainty and high-stakes competition. By 2024, the narrative began to shift significantly with the introduction of Gemini 1.0 and the breakthrough 1.5 Pro, proving that Google's massive internal infrastructure and vast data moats were finally being leveraged to their full potential. The year 2025 was defined by quiet refinement, a period of building the invisible scaffolding required for a much larger leap. Now, in 2026, we are seeing the fruit of that strategic dominance. Google has successfully utilized its unique position of controlling the mobile operating system, the world's most popular browser, and a global cloud network to effectively close the gap with market competitors like OpenAI and Apple Intelligence. The infrastructure is no longer a prototype, it is the foundation upon which every digital interaction is now being built. The reason 2026 stands out as the definitive turning point is because the era of the experiment has officially been declared over. For 3 years, the public played with AI that could write poems, summarize lengthy emails, or generate whimsical images. Gemini 4 represents a pivot toward an AI that actually acts on behalf of the user. We are entering the age of the persistent agent, an intelligent entity that does not just wait for a prompt, but anticipates a specific need and completes complex multi-step workflows across the entirety of the digital world. This is the profound narrative promise of this new era, an AI that does not just chat, but does. It represents the last great turning point in the history of large language models before the focus shifts entirely toward the pursuit of artificial general intelligence. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. This transition is the beginning of the end for the smartphone era as we have known it, paving the way for a world where our devices are simply windows into a much larger, agent-driven reality. We are witnessing the construction of a productivity operating system that will redefine labor, creativity, and the very way we interface with information. The stakes have never been higher for the global developer community, who are now the architects of this new automated world. At the heart of this technical revolution lies the core architecture of Gemini 4, a model that represents the pinnacle of years of research within Google DeepMind. The most striking advancement is the expansion of the context window to 2 million tokens. In practical terms, this means the AI has moved beyond simply reading a book or summarizing an article. It is now capable of internalizing a company's entire codebase, thousands of pages of legal documentation, or even a lifetime of personal records and correspondence in a single session. This massive context window is not just a statistical achievement, it is the foundation for a more profound shift known as persistent memory, allowing the system to maintain coherence over years. This represents a definitive end to the era of short-term memory and consumer artificial intelligence. Unlike previous models that operated within the narrow confines of a single chat session, Gemini 4 is designed to maintain a long-term understanding of its user. It learns specific preferences, professional nuances, and historical context over months of interaction, effectively ending the era where users had to constantly remind their AI of who they are and what they need. This technical evolution is further bolstered by what the industry is calling multimodal supremacy. Gemini 4 does not merely process different types of data, it synthesizes them simultaneously with near-zero latency. This creates a seamless experience where the interaction feels less like a series of prompts and more like a fluid, real-time collaboration. This speed and depth are what enable the rise of agentic AI. We are witnessing a fundamental transition from an AI that simply answers questions to an AI that completes complex multi-step workflows. These agents possess a new reasoning engine, a sophisticated architectural layer that allows for autonomous problem solving. When an agent is tasked with a project, it can now break down that project into individual subtasks, execute them across different platforms, and perform self-correction if it encounters an unexpected obstacle. If a flight is canceled during a travel planning task, the agent doesn't stop and wait for a prompt. It recognizes the failure, searches for an alternative, and adjusts the entire itinerary before presenting the final result to the user. The physical manifestation of this intelligence is most visible in the integration with Android 17. Google has successfully bridged the gap between massive cloud-based power and local on-device efficiency. By leveraging next-generation neural processing chips, Gemini 4 can run many of its most sensitive tasks directly on the user's hardware. This on-device approach ensures that privacy is no longer a trade-off for performance. It also significantly benefits the global developer community, who are now using tools like Firebase Studio to build entirely new categories of software and automated services. With AI-assisted coding and automated debugging, developers are reporting that the time required to move from a concept to a functional application has been reduced by as much as 70%. This democratization of high-level development means that even small teams can now build and maintain enterprise-grade ecosystems that were once the exclusive domain of tech giants. However, as we navigate this new landscape, it is vital to distinguish the confirmed facts from the widespread industry speculation. While many in the community are looking for signs of a sudden leap toward artificial general intelligence, Google DeepMind remains focused on the steady, reliable refinement of agentic capabilities. We must translate technical jargon like inference speed, token density, and model quantization into the practical benefits they provide for users. The reality of 2026 is that the experiment has been replaced by durable, high-performance infrastructure. We are no longer waiting to see if AI will be useful. We are watching it become the primary driver of digital productivity. These advancements in reasoning and persistence are the building blocks of a future where the friction of interacting with technology finally disappears, leaving behind a more intuitive, agent-driven world that actively works for us in the background, rather than requiring us to work for it. The competitive landscape in 2026 has reached a fever pitch, with the release of Gemini 4 fundamentally altering the power dynamics between Mountain View and its primary market rivals. For years, the world debated whether Google's massive data moat would be enough to fend off the agility of OpenAI or the ecosystem lock-in of Apple Intelligence. With the unveiling of this agentic ecosystem, Demis Hassabis has provided a resounding answer rooted in scale. While OpenAI continues to push the boundaries of pure reasoning and Apple focuses on the integrated, privacy-first consumer experience, Google has positioned itself as the bridge between these philosophies. Gemini 4 offers the sophisticated logic required for professional workflows alongside the global cloud integration that only a company of Google's magnitude can sustain, ensuring the global developer community has a stable foundation for the next generation of autonomous services. This shift triggers massive economic repercussions, specifically regarding the evolution of the search generative experience. For decades, the digital economy relied on the search and click model. However, as Gemini 4 transitions from a passive search engine into a persistent personal agent, the fundamental way users interact with the internet is undergoing a seismic change. People are no longer simply searching for links. They are tasking their agents to synthesize information and negotiate terms for services. This evolution from search to autonomous agency forces a total rethink of digital advertising. If a persistent agent can find the best insurance policy and book the appointment without the user ever seeing an ad, the multi-billion-dollar framework of the web must adapt. Revenue models will likely shift from clicks to successful outcomes managed by these intelligent intermediaries. Yet, a realization realism check is necessary amidst the excitement at Mountain View. The transition to an agent-driven world faces significant bottlenecks that require careful management. Energy consumption remains a critical concern, as the computational power required to maintain millions of persistent reasoning agents puts a strain on global power grids and sustainability goals. Furthermore, while the hallucination floor has been lowered through the new reasoning engine, the risk of an autonomous agent making a logical error in high-stakes environments remains a hurdle for public trust. Google DeepMind continues to emphasize that while Gemini 4 is more robust than any predecessor, human oversight remains vital. Data privacy also remains central, as the more an agent knows about a user's life, the more necessary on-device processing and encrypted memory become to prevent exploitation. For the global developer community, the roadmap to this future requires immediate action. Professionals should benchmark their current AI tools to identify where latency and a lack of memory are hindering productivity. During this integration phase, the key metrics to watch will be inference speed versus reasoning accuracy. It is not enough for an agent to be fast. It must be correct. Strategies for developers now center on utilizing Firebase Studio to integrate these agentic features immediately. This strategy allows them to build applications that don't just wait for user input, but actively participate in achieving user objectives across multiple platforms. Those who adopt these frameworks early will define the standards for the rest of the decade. Taking a step back, we are witnessing the end of the smartphone era and the dawn of the agent era. This is the iPhone moment for the mid-2020s. Just as the 2007 revolution moved us away from desktop computing, the innovations led by Google DeepMind are moving us toward a world where the physical device is secondary to the intelligence it houses. We are watching the total transformation of our relationship with machines, where the complexity of the digital world is finally abstracted away. Google is no longer just building a tool to find information. They are constructing the operating system for human productivity. In this reality, our devices are merely sensors for a ubiquitous intelligence that manages the complexities of modern life. As we conclude this exploration of Google I/O 2026, it is clear the gap between human intention and digital execution is closing. The question is no longer whether to use AI, but how to work alongside an agent that understands your goals and possesses the autonomy to act. This represents the fulfillment of the promise made during the early days of the AI boom. Is your personal workflow ready to be handled by an agent? Are you prepared for a world where your most valuable asset is no longer your ability to search, but your ability to direct? Follow our coverage for deeper comparisons as we navigate this transition together.